Hey everyone, I'm a freelance graphic designer, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about branding. Right now, I'm currently out at my horse farm. I just got done with feeding, and my horse Apollo was following me. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background on where branding started. So, branding mainly originated from farmers to differentiate their livestock. So, livestock were branded, freeze brand, iron branding, to mainly tell them apart. And for my main majority of my audience, you're not horse people. So I have 3 white horses behind me. And if they were to get loose, the way you would tell them apart is based on a brand that you can find on their hip. And that would differentiate what owner they belong to, and who they needed to be returned to. So you see this a lot with cows. All these cows look the same. Let's say hi to Reno. And he was like, I'm not getting up. You taking a nap, Rebu? He's like, taking a good old nap. So yeah, let's finish this conversation back in my office. Hey everyone, so I'm back in my office, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about branding and how it's currently used today. So before I was talking about branding and its history and how it was previously used to differentiate livestock through mainly a symbol that was branded on a livestock hip. And in today's world, that's not the same case. It's a myth that a brand is a icon, a logo, a typeface, a symbol. It's not a package identity, and it's not a product or service. A brand is a customer's gut reaction, their feeling towards a specific company. That is what a brand is. And the best companies know that they need to spend a lot of money and time researching their customers and who they want to target and how those customers view their products and service. And that's where the brand is built upon. And there's 6 key elements that really build a good brand. And that is, it needs to be ownable, extendable, flexible, unique, simple, and emotive. And those characteristics come from both strategy and creativity. And with those 2 elements, the strategy and the creativity combined, you get really charismatic brands. I think one of my favorite examples to use is Coca-Cola. And for me, this might be different for you. When I think of Coca-Cola, I think of Christmas. I know that might sound a little bit odd, but Coca-Cola has made their customers feel this joy, this rapport, this warm feeling for Coca-Cola. I don't think of Coke as a soda. I think of Coke as this bridge between relationships. And a lot of their commercials, you'll see them with friends or family. They did a Share a Coke campaign where they had the Coca-Cola with different people's names on them, and the goal was to buy a Coke for yourself and then share it with a friend with the name on it. And you've probably seen that there's been some branding of Coca-Cola sodas in their labels that will actually turn into bows around Christmas time. But Coca-Cola has done a really good job of building this rapport because in the end, Coca-Cola is a soda company. And you might be familiar with the war between Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So Coca-Cola has done a really great job of branding themselves as a charismatic brand where they have convinced consumers that there is no substitute for Coca-Cola. I have some friends who are diehard Coca-Cola fans. And if you think about the Coca-Cola war versus Pepsi, they think that Coca-Cola is unbeatable. And to me, Coca-Cola and Pepsi taste the same. You might think differently, but the main difference I see is the way the brands present themselves. And why so many people think that Coca-Cola tastes better is because Coca-Cola has built that rapport with people that give them that feeling that Coke is better, has no substitutes. They develop these relationships with the consumers that make them feel warm, joyful, happy, and build these relationships, this rapport around family and friends, whereas Pepsi, their position and their branding is a little bit more towards being popular, being hip, working with celebrities, and staying ahead of the game, where it's a little bit more aspirational. It's a little bit more out of touch. So consumers tend to connect more with Coca-Cola through that rapport. And if you think about it, we live in a world that is a sea of sameness. If you go down any US grocery store, you will probably see 20 water bottle brands, and that is kind of ridiculous. They're all just plastic bottles with water in them. But we have so many options in such little time that brands have had to really differentiate themselves so that you make the quick grab, the quick decision of, I want this water bottle because of X. Or brands strategize how they present themselves to customers based on demographics and their interests and all these other factors. And then creative teams build the visual elements that help guide consumers to that decision. So how does this all apply to being a freelance graphic designer? I wanted to bring up how this is really important as a designer, especially if you're trying to do freelance. If you were trying to do any sort of freelance, whether you're trying to do illustration or you're trying to do design work or fashion or anything like that, you have to have your own brand. And I'm not talking about going and selling merchandise, unless that's something you're really interested in, go for it. But you need to be able to brand and sell yourself in a way that's charismatic. And I know that sounds a little cheesy and a little overwhelming. I definitely thought that in the beginning too, but we live in a world of the sea of sameness. There are thousands of other people doing the same thing you are. And you have to be able to show your clients why they need to choose you as a designer, or you need to show your customers or art curators why you need to be chosen for that gallery. So something you really need to consider is that you already have the creative side. Remember those 6 elements I talked about earlier? Ownable, extendable, flexible, unique, simple, and emotive. Most likely as a creative individual, you already are ownable. You own up to your work. You know your work really well. You're unique. You probably have something really interesting about you that really separates you from the rest. And you're emotive. All creative people I know are emotive. But as a creative, you might struggle a little bit with strategy, the elements of being extendable, having that strategy to have the longevity over time to survive, the flexibility, and without overwhelming yourself. And that leads into simplicity. So these elements build upon themselves to really develop this charismatic brand and this really great branding. And you may have a specific aesthetic you want to really push in your branding. You might have one aesthetic you do over editorial design, poster design, t-shirt design, product design, everything like that. Or you might have a really niche skill in Adobe Illustrator. You might be amazing at Adobe Illustrator and have no idea how to use Adobe After Effects. And that's perfectly okay. and you're going to really leverage your skill set in Adobe Illustrator. Or you're like me and I have another skill set outside of design. I have a background in marketing. I really, really understand marketing. So these are the unique selling points that really need to be implemented and thought about into your branding that adds to that strategy, adds to how you can leverage yourself as a creative designer, and really create a charismatic brand for yourself. So this definitely happens over time. It's not going to happen in one day. It's not going to happen in a month. It might not happen in a year. This requires a lot of thought. And you need to do a lot of research. You need to go out in the world. You need to look at some of the greatest brands out there, and really consider how they connect with their consumers, their clients, and how you can utilize some of their strategies and apply that to yourself. And it's something a little daunting, especially as a creative. And I go through periods where I'll do rebrands, where I might have a different customer base or a different client base. I get feedback from them. And sometimes I learn that my brand isn't actually on par to how they think I am. And I need to adjust that. And it happens slowly and it happens tactfully. But sometimes it's necessary, and it's just this slow growing process over time. But that's where the flexible, the extendable, and the emotive happens. But the other qualities, ownable, unique, and simple, can carry on. So it's a big play on those elements. But if you have a really good idea, a really solid foundation on the 6 elements, you can constantly reevaluate them. In my previous videos, which you can go check out, A Designer's Guide to a Customer Journey, you can really learn how to get customer and client feedback in that video. But anyway, this kind of wraps up my spiel on Branding 101. So if you liked this video, please leave a like. And as always, if you want to hear more of me, please hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.